I just finished our first dance competition of the season, and I wanted to sit down while it's still fresh and go over a few things that are important for moms when you're walking into your first dance competition weekend. It's some of the nuanced things that may not be written down anywhere, may not be on your tip sheets from your studios, but just things that as moms we just kind of notice over and over are recurring themes, and they are super helpful to know if you've never been to one. So let's get into it. When you first learn about your dance competition, it's going to be on the calendar. Hopefully you've blocked out that entire weekend so that you have the flexibility to move depending on how the schedule lands when it's finally released. Generally speaking, I feel like we get our competition schedules maybe a week and a half in advance of the actual competition. But you also want to check with your studio to see what the call times are. This last competition I went to, my dancer did not have her first routine until noon on Saturday. We were like, yes, high score, we're very excited that we don't have to get up super early on Saturday. But our studio owner wanted us all there at 7 a.m. to just do some reblocking of some dances that had changed due to some dancers not being able to attend the competition. So there goes that timetable of planning for noon, and now we have to be there at 7 a.m. Think of the schedule when it's released as just a framework. Those times can change. It just depends on scenarios. Block out that entire weekend if possible. I know there are dancers that have other siblings and moms who have other children with obligations as well. So if you can block out the entire weekend, I think that just keeps you safe. It keeps you prepared in case chimes change or the schedule fluctuates a lot. The first tip is that competitions, even though they have scheduled start times, the actual competition day, the venue, the movement within the building is going to start far before that. We had a 7 a.m. call time on a Saturday. We got there about 6:45 because we were only 10 minutes away. By the time we got there, the parking lot is already starting to fill up. The parking lot attendant said she had gotten there at 5:30 a.m. The doors technically didn't open till 7:15, so we were kind of waiting by the doors to get in. But people are moving, things are taking place. Just because the times listed say noon or say 11:30 doesn't mean that that's when people are first starting to arrive, getting in those dressing rooms, walking down those halls, doing all those things. Take that into consideration. There will be a lot more moving parts than just the start time of the actual performances. There are warm-ups happening, possible reblocks happening. There are dance moms getting their coffee. It's all a moving, ebbing machine. So if you keep that in mind, you won't walk in being overwhelmed and seeing a lot already going on because days are starting earlier and people just want to get there. So just keep that in mind that the beginning of the day is going to start a bit earlier than what the actual schedule reads. Another big tip to keep in mind for your first dance competition, or if you're just getting back into the competition season, is that there is a lot of waiting going on throughout the day. So, like I said, we got there at 7 a.m. First competition performance was not until noon, but there is a lot of waiting. So we got to the venue. Doors didn't open until 7:15. We got in, rushed to the dressing room, then set up all of our things. Our dressing room was very small, so we had to deal with that. While we were setting up in the dressing room, the reblock was taking place. We go over, check the reblock. It's all looking good. Dancers all accounted for. There was a lot of waiting at that point. We went in to watch a few of the earlier performances. So the schedule gets closer to your dancer's time, and then there's a lot of active movement. So you're getting your dancers' clothes on, you're helping them with last minute hair and makeup items, and you're also ushering them over to any run-throughs that they may be having before they hit the stage. If you're a backstage mom like I was, you might have to then wait with the dance team as they are ushered backstage and they're waiting in the wings as they've checked in, and then you're waiting for them to go on stage and perform. Then you're watching the performance. Either you're waiting and watching it in the audience or you're watching it backstage. But then after that's finished, you're ushering the team back, or if you have been in the audience, you're running back to the dressing room to check in on your dancer. And again, you're waiting for the next thing. A lot of stopping and starting and a lot of getting up and moving and sitting and getting up and sitting and moving. It can be very taxing on you mentally. It can be very taxing on you physically as well. It's essential that you hydrate thoroughly. If you can take vitamins or any electrolytes. That's going to help you with your energy and your motivation throughout the day. But waiting is going to be one of the major things that you're doing during a dance competition weekend. Keep in mind that you also have to wait during the award ceremonies. Award ceremonies can last from anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes, maybe even to an hour, depending on how many people are in that group session for those awards. So it's a lot of waiting that takes place. You do have a bit of rest time, but there's a lot of emotions going through, a lot of feelings of excitement, but also a bit of nerves. So in that time that you're waiting, you kind of go through the gamut of emotions. Waiting is key, something that you're going to do during a competition weekend. That leads me into the next tip. As you're waiting, you're inside the competition venue. For us, we've been in high schools, we've been in performance centers. I think that's pretty much the majority of what we've been into. It kind of flip-flops between the competitions that we've gone to, but you're going to get to know your venue intimately. The venue itself can present all sorts of challenges and opportunities to be comfortable and to make it through the weekend without losing your mind, really. Some of the things you want to keep in mind with regard to the competition venue is if there are moms that are going earlier or that will be there a day earlier, check in with them, see what the temperature is like, literally the temperature in the building. The temperature inside the building could be entirely different than the temperature outside in your everyday regular weather. For us this weekend, the venue itself, the auditorium was freezing. We got a notification on our band app saying, hey, if you're coming to the competition tomorrow, make sure you bring a blanket or a jacket because it's freezing in the auditorium. The way we were set up was really different than we've ever been set up in this particular venue with regard to the fact that our dancers had to, for the first day, walk outside the building to go back inside the building to perform. Luckily that day was a bit warmer. It ended up being about 70, I think, so it wasn't freezing. The next day, those dancers who were still in that dressing room had to walk outside in the really cold for us in Florida, 50s weather. It was slightly drizzling, and they had to walk outside the building to go back inside to perform. So we were told to bring blankets, maybe a bag if the dancers needed a blanket to transition from outside back inside. So the venue can have all sorts of different things with regard to how fresh the air could be, how cold it can be. Depending on the venue, it could be a very large building where rooms are far apart, dressing rooms are a long walk, bathrooms are a long walk. Luckily, when we went to this venue, they had sufficient amount of women's restrooms, so that was not an issue. We've been in high schools though, where there aren't tons of bathrooms available, and the bathrooms often have a line, so that adds time to every single movement when you have to take your dancer to the bathroom and wait in a line. Those are things you want to keep in mind so that you can plan accordingly. You don't want to rush to the bathroom when you have a 5-minute quick change and wait in line. So the venue is really important. You want to keep in mind where you're going. You want to get a lay of the land. You can make it as comfortable and easy of a weekend as possible. Also, with regard to the buildings, keep in mind that while you're planning for buildings potentially to be cold, when you're running around and you're in the dressing room, you're running backstage or you're running here or there, that you may get hot. So one of the biggest tips I could recommend for dance moms is to have layers, have that blanket if you need it, have a jacket you can wear, but also have a t-shirt if it gets unbearably hot. You can bring a portable fan. I have a little folding fan that I take so that I can have that in my dance bag, and if I need it, I can pull it out. So you want to have options so that you can keep yourself as comfortable as possible during the competition weekend. And my last quick tip that I kind of alluded to earlier in the video is that parking and navigating the venue when you first arrive can take, and possibly will take, I would plan on it, taking longer than expected. At this particular performance venue we went to, they do concerts, workshops, graduations. They had graduations taking place that day. We had to wait in line to just pay to park to get inside the venue. That could take 5 to 10 minutes just to make it through the line, a few minutes to make your payment, and then a few minutes to continue to go through the parking lot and find a spot. That adds time on top of your arrival. When you're trying to make it to that call time, you're gonna find your parking spot. It's gonna take you a few minutes to get all of your things out of the car to walk inside the venue. Then you want to make sure you're allocating appropriate amount of time, or at least a significant amount of time if you haven't been to that venue before, to find the dressing room. That is going to take you some time to navigate the building, make sure you're on the right wing or the right part of the building, depending on how large it is, and just make it to the dressing room and find a spot. All of that can take time, and you want to make sure that you're building in enough buffer time there so that you're not overwhelmed or stressed or anxious as you're making that transition. Those are just 4 things I want to make sure that you keep in mind if you're going to your first dance competition or you haven't been to one in a while. The early times can flux, and there's a lot going on before that first initial time starts. There's a lot of waiting and sitting around, and then bursts of rushing around as well. While you're in the venue temperature could feel a lot warmer, a lot colder than you initially anticipate. And lastly, when you're arriving to the venue, make sure you have all of that buffer time that you need for parking, using the bathroom, getting your bags out, lugging your bags around, and finding that dressing room. Just having all that time is going to keep you a lot more calm. I have a blog post where I have a few more things that will help you strategically move through your first competition weekend or your first competition weekend in a while with a lot more calm and stress-free steadiness. I'm Anjoli, and I love to help dance moms feel more confident, more prepared, and less stressed as we're walking through this competition season, because we're not walking through it alone. I'm here with you. I'm here to help. And I think we can build this dance mom community to be bigger, better, and more supportive than ever. I'll see you in the next one.